what's happening right now? Very simply, one thing and one thing only. It's a competition, a startup competition, the biggest, the boldest, the most significant, the only, but the main competition in terms of big ideas in this space, big ideas in the procurement industry. And we've seen over the last 4 years, in fact, since we started this competition, the ideas, the inspiration, the conversations, how the different companies have grown, got the exposure, the right exposure, and the right conversations with you experts that are part of the DPW community. Certainly you can see how they move forward as well. Right, so pretty much we have everything we need. We have our audience, which is fantastic. Yes, do we have our audience? Yes, we do. I'm sure you're ready. I'm sure I can't see it, but I can feel underneath there's brewing excitement. Is there excitement coming through? There is. More than I expected, more than you look from where I'm standing, but that's okay. Because as this afternoon, as I won't say hours, but as the minutes unfold, you will feel the excitement, so don't hold back, all right? You say in the front, please, if you want to jump up, scream, whatever you want to do, you can do that, because we're all part of the same community here. Right, so let's find out who the people are that will help decide the fate of these startups. So first of all, we have a judge that has simply led the corporate development functions at Cooper since 2014. Also serves as the managing director of Cooper's recently launched strategic venture fund, Cooper Ventures. Prior to Cooper, was an early stage investor with Zocholl Capital and GM of Slide Rocket. So certainly somebody who knows what they're looking for and knows what they're talking about. Please welcome to the stage SVP of Corporate Development and MD of Cooper Ventures, JJ Freitag. You're already here. Great. Take a seat. I thought you were going to walk on. That was going to be like a dramatic walk, and you're already there. Right. Okay. Our next judge deciding the fate of our startups this afternoon is responsible for shaping and driving the digital procurement strategy roadmap and capability framework to deliver end-to-end delightful and seamless digital experience. Doesn't that sound delightful? It absolutely does. Together, again, previously served as the technology solution lead for procurement in her technology organization. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for the Director of Procurement, Digitization and Strategy at Johnson & Johnson, Nufrid Pierre-Louis. Coming on this side, right. Our next judge will come from the roof down. Right. Our next judge, partner at PACTUM Capital, a B2B software-focused growth equity firm, focused exclusively on supply chain, procurement and payments, and has partnered with over 20 scale-ups over the last 8 years. Again, knows what they're looking for and can identify the right attributes for success. Often writes on procure tech and supply chain, and has made several investments naturally in this space. Please put your hands together for our third judge, partner at PACTUM Capital, Jack Freeman. It's time to bring on stage our very first startup. Remember, this is, I'm going to introduce 3 different startups from the early stage category. Remember, early stage category and 3 startups. There will be a winner of this 3. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our first startup, very simply called Versed AI.
I'm Fenella. I'm co-founder of and CEO of Versed AI. Now, how many of you have been impacted by COVID over the last couple of years? Or maybe the question should be, I can see lots of hands going up, maybe the question should be, who hasn't been impacted by COVID? Or the war in Ukraine, or the semiconductor crisis. I could go on, but don't know how quite to make the slides go. But anyway, Versed AI is, many of these questions would be solved by having multi-tier supply chain visibility. And that's one of the big unsolved problems that we have in...
It's okay. On? Fantastic. Yeah, there's just a little bit of a technical issue, clearly, with the slides. It's totally fine. We're working on that right now, trying to see if we can get that. Naturally,
Okay.
the time goes back to 0.
Time goes back to 0.
Let's see if we can get that coming. Is that coming? There we are. I think it's there. Is that it?
That is not quite the first slide.
Okay, go back to the first one.
There we go.
Okay, we'll take the timer back.
Okay.
And then you just start from the beginning.
Super.
Okay? Go for it.
Super. Great. So, yeah, many of these questions that you guys are focusing on right now, you're being asked to answer more and more frequently, harder and harder questions, and many of them can be solved with multi-tier supply chain visibility. It's one of the great unsolved problems of procurement, and it's what Versed AI aims to tackle. So let's go back a little bit in time. This is Toyota. They thought they'd mapped out their supply chain. They thought they had a good understanding. And when the Fukushima earthquake hit, they realized that there was a company in their supply chain that they were very reliant on. Renesas, they got flooded, a microchip supplier, and that severely disrupted Toyota's ability to deliver to customers. And this is an example of 2 of the types of things that we can help clients uncover in their supply chain. One is a hidden risk, a company that's in their supply chain that they're reliant on, that they weren't aware of. And the second is, where is there a concentration risk? Where is there a single point of failure in their supply chain? And it sounds obvious, but 80% of companies don't actually have this kind of visibility mapped out. And that's a blank slide. And Toyota, in that year, lost about $600 million of profit. I was, in my previous life, a financial analyst. I've seen firsthand the types of headaches this causes companies, and also the costs to them on both the top line, the bottom line, and also client relationships. Of course, post-COVID, this has become a really, really important topic for clients, for companies. It's the #1 global business risk, according to the Allianz Risk Barometer, and Accenture estimates that from the start of COVID through to the end of 2023, this could cost European economy alone $920 billion. So it's a huge, huge unsolved problem. In terms of existing solutions, they're very poor, and they explain why many companies are still blind on this. It's things like doing supplier surveys, which are slow. They upset your suppliers if they get inundated too much. It doesn't go down multiple tiers. It doesn't necessarily update. And, or use of personal networks, calling people up when there's a crisis. And what tends to happen is that you're seeking this information after something has happened, and you're then in firefighting mode. And what Versed AI aims to help companies do is get ahead of these disruptions and really be proactive rather than reactive. And the kind of actionable insights that we help companies answer are, is Huawei in my supply chain? Will I be affected by lockdown in Chengdu, very topical recently? How should I triage modern slavery risk audits? So we figured there must be a better way of doing things. And we scratched our heads, and we came up with gathering all the information out there in the public domain and hoovering that up, putting it into a large knowledge graph, which we can then query to say, okay, who's in your tier, who's in your supply chain down to tier 3. And we take client data, we apply natural language processing technologies, computer vision technologies, we take external data sets, bring it all together. From a client onboarding perspective, it's super easy. This is a live client case study. We mapped a client supply chain down to tier 4. No exposure to floods in Zhengzhou at tiers 1 and 2, but one supplier had 4 factories, cropped up 20 times in the supply chain at tiers 3 and 4. So super important, but invisible. We've got a great team. We're a total of 18. This is senior management team. We're spin out from Cambridge, and we've also got, we've taken venture capital funding. We've got a great group of backers, including Working Capital Fund, Cambridge Enterprise, Creative Fund, some great angels. And if anyone wants to hear more, find out whether or not we can help you get ahead of the next supply chain disruption, let us know. Thanks. Am I going that way?
I'm going to ask you just to stay there, just stay exactly where you were. Absolutely. What's going to happen now is we're going to dig a little bit deeper. Our jury members are going to ask questions that nobody else dares to ask to find out really how our startups, how they're ticking. Let's hear.
Bruno, excuse me. What was it, sort of maybe a specific example, in your years as a financial analyst in manufacturing, where you thought, this is a real problem, I want to leave a safe job and go take on the world and battle this?
I can think of examples when KUKA had problems with their supply chain, were unable to deliver, and that caused loss of sales. I can think of moments when Caterpillar, I think they were trying to scale up. There was a lot of demand, and they were having difficulties in their supply chain. Often not the tier 1 suppliers that they could see, but tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, and they didn't know whether or not they had invested, whether or not they were able to meet the higher demand. So that's another one.
Great, thank you. In regards to other players in the field that also say that they can provide visibility to multi-tier suppliers, how does your approach to getting past tier 1 suppliers differ from your competitors?
Yeah, I think there are other companies out there who are taking customs data, for instance. There are other companies out there who are just looking at relationships, but not necessarily focusing on mapping tiers in the supply chain. And so how we differentiate is by taking a very large number of different data sources, bringing them together, but also in terms of trying to give accuracy and relevance. So we map the supply chain data out, but then we aim to give you data that's relevant to you. So if you're looking at cyber risk, you're probably interested in the software suppliers. If you're looking at direct supply chains, you're probably looking at widget suppliers and a specific subset of those. So we aim to tailor that to you by enriching the data with information that's gonna help filter.
Thank you. For me, multi-tier supply chain, very large strategic vision, global vision. If you had to distill it down to one compelling reason to buy or one use case to get your foot in the door with a customer, what would be your top pick there?
Compelling use case to do what?
Compelling reason to buy, so...
To buy?
Yeah.
Get ahead of the next supply chain disruption. You just need to avoid one single disruption to your supply chain, which will cost you on sales, it'll cost you on costs, on air freighting, not sea freighting, all the other headaches, dealing with your boss, and the payback should be very rapid.
Okay, we've got another 50 seconds on the clock. Any last questions, maybe?
What's your thoughts on how you're going to implement this at a customer? What's that going to look like?
Super easy. So client gives us their tier 1 relationships and just a little bit of extra information so we know which company we're looking at, so the address, the URL, entity identifier, and then we take it from there. And then we also partner with a number of organizations, Crafting One, they're here, who can provide risk alerting and things like that on top.
Okay, I'm looking at the judges. They look happy. Fenella looks happy. You're happy as well. Hands together for our first Startup Burst AI. Well done. Right, ready for number 2? Yes, you are. Remember, if you just joined us, this is the early stage startups category of Demo 2022. Let's move on to our next startup. Ladies and gentlemen, again, please put your hands together. A warm welcome to startup number 2, very simply called Xmed Iq.
My name is Zocholl, founder and group CEO of Xmed Iq. First of all, thank you to Matthias, thank you to Peter, thank you to the judges, and thank you to this great audience. I'm wearing this mask, not I'm afraid of COVID. I'm wearing this mask because I want to show you what product I am talking about today. Medical devices. In Europe, a 140 billion euro market, steady growth rates, 5 to 7%. Starting with low-end products like this, ended up with high-end product like this. You see here my heart and pacemaker, yeah? And of course, as a courtesy to Johnson & Johnson, mid-end product, this is an artificial hip stem. World market leader is sitting here. You can buy a mask like this in Europe for 10 euro cents in Germany, a low price market, or you can buy it in Ireland or even more higher in Switzerland for more than 2 euros. A pacemaker, the price range of a pacemaker is 410 euros in Sweden, and in the low price market, and in the high price market, Switzerland, more than 12,000 euros. You may wonder why this. The answer is 3 major mismatches characterize this market, in demand and supply. Mismatch number 1, a highly concentrated supply side. 30 companies covered more than 60% of the procurement volume. A super fragmented hospital demand side, 15,000 fragmented, uncoordinated, not collaborating hospitals across Europe. Mismatch number 2, on the one side, the highest profits ever on the medical supply side with up to 35% EBITDA margin. The fragmented hospital side, an industry operating in the red. 60 to 70% of the European hospitals making big losses. Number 3, the industry perfect data machine, best in the world. The hospital side, an industry operating only in one country, paper and pencil-based business. 60 to 70% fax-based daily orders, no data, and so on. These 3 mismatches are the perfect biotope for our vision. We want to be the corrective in the middle to disrupt this market by creating Europe's first and largest digital sourcing platform. Our achievements in the last 10 months to overcome this market mismatches. We created a huge open collaboration platform. Meanwhile, 55,000 hospital buyers have access to. I'm just coming from Brussels, where I organized the first pan-European hospital procurement summit. Our treasure trove, based on our experience the last 15 years, more than 10 million price and detailed product data. Number 3, finally, we developed a digital procurement platform where the buyers finally can place their orders, buy the stuff via a fully digitalized supply chain. Furthermore, we incorporated 6 European subsidiaries this year, concluded contracts with more than 200 hospitals, 2,500 small and medium-sized social health care institutions, launched products within 7 countries. This is my international management team. Finally, good news from the market. We have been on the stage on every major startup event. Let me close with a motto on your badge. We are what healthcare procurement has been waiting for. Thank you very much.
What a bow. What a bow. Almost like a swimming bow. You're about to jump into a swimming pool. There we are. Right. Fantastic. Let's hear how our jury feel about what they've just heard.
Great. Thank you so much.
You must be brave today. You must disrupt yourself.
Yes.
Yeah?
The question that I had is really around the integrations between supplier invoicing and payments. If you could give me a little bit more of a perspective of how you would handle, how you currently handle that to solve.
Again, please, Noah.
Integrations, specifically around supplier invoicing and payments.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I explained you the current situation. I'm a consultant since 15 years, and of course we see improvements, and this is also what we want to provide in the future for our hospitals. A fully digitalized supply chain, with invoices, scanning, and so on and so on. We want to overcome this faxed and paper-based business. This is one of the number 3, a part of our digital procurement platform. Yeah? Not only to improve prices, but also improve the supply, the procurement process.
If I could steal 2 questions, I'll double down on that one and ask, do you currently handle the payment today? And then 2 is, what has been your secret to scaling the supply and the demand side, as well as the collaboration or the just usage across the community that you've built?
Yeah, sorry, probably with the noise again.
The 2 questions are, do you handle the payment today between supply and demand? And then second is, what's been your secret to scaling the marketplace and to adding more suppliers and more buyers?
We are a dealer. That means we take all the invoices on our books, selling the stuff from the industry. buying the stuff to the hospitals via a fully digitalized supply chain, including scanned invoices. Again, overcome this paper and pencil business.
So it strikes me that you've got a bit of an incentive problem with the hospitals not necessarily being price focused as their primary concern, and a bit of a regulatory problem in how this is managed. How do you think about those two big problems as you're coming to market?
Do you mean regulatory problems with the products? Yeah.
With sales of products across borders?
Oh yeah, since 10 years in Europe, we have a new legislation. It's more or less very, very easy to perform joint cross-border procurement initiatives. But at the moment, the hospital don't do this. Yeah, and this is also what I'm aiming for. We want to aim cross-border procurement initiatives legally. Not a problem. Legally, not a problem. If you are dealing and managing the stuff within the EU, you have no problems. Yeah, and we are focused only on the EU, not on other countries.
So what's the challenge then? Is it an incentive issue for the hospitals?
The challenge.
Why don't they do it?
Sorry.
Why, if it's available, why aren't they doing it?
The biggest challenge overall is the data. At the moment, the hospital don't have any data. This is the biggest challenge for us and for all. Yeah? As mentioned, they have only, I don't know, fax-based orders, no electronic data, and this is the biggest problem for us. You can imagine, if we put the stuff on our digital platform, we need perfect, accurate data. And this is the biggest challenge at the moment. And the other things are not very difficult for us and also for the hospitals. The data problem. We gather the data, accurate data, and so on and so on. This is a big challenge.
Thanks.
Okay, and that wraps up our 4 minutes of your pitch and 4 minutes of questions from the jury members. Ladies and gentlemen, hands together for Xmed Iq. Moving on. Remember, if you just joined us, early stage startups, demo 2022 pitching competition. This is the third in the category. We only have 3, so basically we need a winner from this category. Is it one of the first 2, or maybe is it this one here? We'll find out a little bit later on. But for now, let's hear our third startup. Please put your hands together for startup, very simply called...
We all know that negotiations are a core pillar of business. Especially you. You have felt the pain as well. They're complex, they're time-consuming. Imagine a world which will be a bit different. You have your corporate strategy, your aim, your goals. They have been set. Instead of now hiring, training, aligning all the people who will start doing negotiations one by one, you will have a different world. After you have set your strategy, you insert it into the system, and the system sends out tens of thousands of negotiations in parallel. That's exactly what we are doing. Our customers are Fortune 500 companies, such as Walmart, Maersk. Today, in the morning, we just had a learning lab session which was titled Autonomous Negotiations in Practice. We were doing it together with Maersk and Deutsche Telekom. And like other customers, Lucas from Maersk said that, of course, it's cool, it's automated, it saves time and so on. What blows their mind the most is that the final deals, the agreements themselves, are better. And that is amazing. So we were founded exactly 3 years ago. And now we have 80 people, about half in Tallinn, Estonia, half in America. We are live in many continents already, mostly in Europe and in America, but also in Africa and in South Korea. I like the South Korea the most. The font is beautiful. And myself, I've been actually solving these kinds of complex problems all my life. I was one of the leading experts of DeepMind when Google acquired them. And before PACTUM, I was doing self-driving delivery robots being head of AI. And in the same way, how always, usually the solutions are actually simple to the complex problems. I'm going to show you one slide, and I'm going to show you how it actually looks like. I'm still a technical co-founder. How it exactly works like. Initially, there is a client setup. We define what are we negotiating. For example, the cost, the payment terms, the contract length. So we simplify it. It's only like repeatable terms. But then you also need to know how valuable are these terms. The system needs to know what is good for you. That's the strategy part. That's the value. We assign value to these things. And then everything else is on autopilot. We are sending out a negotiation to a supplier via email or with anything. They click on a link, and they go to a simple interaction where they are answering questions, doing offers, counter-offers, trade-offs, and so on. If we reach a deal, then we are generating a contract automatically, sending it, signing via DocuSign for both parties. If it's signed, we update the data in our customer's database. All of this is fully on autopilot in parallel. And our customers can just check how much negotiations we have sent out, how we are getting better based on data from month to month, how many hundreds of millions they are earning, and they can see all the negotiations. And the negotiations are actually sometimes even quite long and complex, and there are offers and counter-offers and trade-offs and so on. But for a supplier, it's extremely simple. They will just open a link and they just need to answer. Great, to learn, to understand that it's simple, and then they start the negotiation. And if they're lucky, their business is better. Thank you.
We'll know what you have to say, but we'll never know. Right, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry, I had to come in only because of time, just to make it fair and square for absolutely everybody here on stage. 4 minutes can go quite quickly, can't it? Definitely. Right, what's going to happen now is you're going to let go of the table. That's right. Yeah. There he leaves the table. And now, again, over to our jury members to dig a little bit deeper under the bonnet of PACTUM to see and hear how it actually ticks.
Thank you. Can you give us a better idea of the average use case that you found since you've started, that you've been solving for, and the amount of contract negotiation size as well, so we can get an understanding of the scope?
So average use case is very difficult to say, because the 4 ones we have been most successful. All of them we have done many times. One is general master level agreements, like a lot of terms, master service agreements. One is retail item level, which is very hot at the moment because every item in retail stores, as the suppliers want to increase the prices, and then you have like 200,000 requests per month for a large company. So that was the second one, retail item level. The third one, which we have done a lot and longest, is logistics. Whenever you have some strange new route from city A to city B, then you need a short-term agreement to get it covered, especially with current disruptions of closing things and extra volumes and prices and so on. And the fourth one is cross-industry, which is purchase orders. It might be that there are 3 orders in a bidding system, and then we contacted the smallest ones, or just asking from the one purchase order. So these are the 4 main core focus areas we are doing at the moment.
And then is it more on the tail spend side of it, or is it?
Yes. So we are always focusing on repeatable things, because if it's like, I don't know, Coca-Cola and Walmart doing a deal, there is like 10 people on both sides, it doesn't make sense. We are doing the smallest 200,000 contracts, which are kind of irrelevant for business on a grand scale of thing. But for people, they take like 80% of time. So we are optimizing these and doing these in an automatic way.
What would you say your core differentiation is relative to some of your competitors?
I mean, we don't need to be too much different because no one else has succeeded with it. So I guess this is the core difference. We have proofs with multiple customers for all of these use cases, negotiations going out all the time, both sides liking it, and we're getting better deals. And I guess the unique thing is that it is in a way complex. We have simplified it such that it will work, and we have the knowledge, and we're getting better all the time because we are doing all these different negotiations, and every next go live is usually happening faster or better and so on, and no one else has this experience.
Can you give me some sense of some KPIs for the company? Number of contracts, number of dollars through it, dollars saved, suppliers. How are you measuring scale?
Roughly, I would say that we are similar to humans in performance, but usually tiny bit better. So it's extremely dependent on the use case. For general master level agreements, it's like 1-2% better contracts. For logistics, it's crazy 30% better contracts in this long tail when you have time to call, to contact more of the suppliers and do it more clever. And the same with automation. With some use cases, it's 99.9% fully automatic. With the very, very worst use case, it's only 60% automatic. And same with conversions. So rough estimate is whatever, if you would have a team of people, you don't, but if you have it, whatever they would achieve, we would do a bit similar, but usually a bit better.
How many have you actually run through the system?
Pardon?
How many suppliers have you negotiated with, just roughly? I mean, is it thousands, tens of thousands?
Early tens of thousands.
Yeah, that was a question. That was a question, but guess what? We'll never know the answer to that. We might know it. We can have a check, tell him later on.
I didn't say anything.
It's great how you asked that question. Yes. Right, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for our first startup of the early stage category, PACTUM.